Alrighty, we're here. Eagles Chiefs. I don't know where you want to start because we didn't talk. We haven't talked since the games last night, and there's a lot of different places to start. But we're gonna. I guess we'll start with the controversial plays there with the refs. How did you see it? Let's do the fourth down play first. Allen sneaks it for 4th and 1. Bills are up 22-21. About 12, 13 minutes left on the Chiefs' 40-yard line. You can't really say one play decided the game, but it was as big of a play as you can think of. How did you see it?
Oh no, I mean it's one of those that really just comes down to ruling on the field. And I guess they saw it was short there because once you send it to review, um, you can't overturn that. There's no view of the ball. I think he's there, and I think the judge that had him short had the angle that showed him being further across. So I think it's bad. I think it's wrong, but again, it's one of those that like it these kind of things happen so often that like it does feel like the Chiefs always get it. But yeah, it was at the end of the day still a super close call. I think he's there. I think some of the angles with him more in line do show that it's a little bit closer than that above angle that just made it look like he was right there. But that one's pretty bad. I still don't think it was like the worst call of the game by far, but I think it was probably the most impactful.
Two things to follow up. One, what about Chris Jones being in the neutral zone? When you see the replay, have you seen that? The still shot looks like his hands in the neutral zone.
I mean, yeah, they get away with that all the time. Yeah,
Where,
that's bad. That's bad.
okay, so then your conclusion of it is there any part of you that thinks the fix is up?
I just think again, I think it's one of those situations where the good teams, the good players get like favorable treatment just because they are the good player. Like I feel like this has been something people have talked about in other sports in the past too. People used to say it about LeBron a little bit. They used to say he used to get like all the calls to go his way. And then the Warriors got those accusations as well. Um, I think they're under more of a microscope. I think this game, like the Xavier Worthy catch, I think in particular was the really bad call of the game that just probably shouldn't. I don't
Oh,
know.
we're gonna get to that one
Yeah,
next.
but as far as this one goes, I think it's just favorable officiating that just shouldn't happen, but it ended up happening. And then yeah, that just it sucks. You hate seeing that, but I don't think it was as horrible as it was in the Texans game, where like it was clearly a like objective impact on the game with multiple 15-yard penalties that just shouldn't.
So let's. I want to kind of zero in on this, right? The play happens. It's quarterback sneak. One ref comes in and he's got a spot where he thinks it is. The other ref comes in with clearly an inferior angle, and we see this in sports all the time. Excuse me, we see it in basketball all the time. Like one of my most famous complaints when I'm coaching is that's not your call, or you don't have a better angle. He didn't call that. Why are you calling it? Right? And
Yeah,
it's like, how did that ref see that, but the other freaking ref who's sitting right there doesn't see it? In this one, I'm having a hard time figuring out who has seniority because the way it works is there's a head ref, obviously, right? But on spotting of the ball, it's really just who believes that they're right more than the other person. So the way I interpreted this is it was fucking hard to see where the ball was for both angles. But for whatever reason, the guy that had the worst angle had more confidence. So he was able to kind of win that, argument of no, it really is right there. And then when they review it, I think what you said in the very beginning is the sobering reality is the review has to have inconclusive evidence. So wherever they decided to spot it on the field, that's where it was going to stay. Hard for me to think that there's a conspiracy involved on that type of play because my logic is if the conspiracy is involved, then they're not going to let a game be so fucking close, right? Like they would have done other things earlier in the game to not let Buffalo even have an opportunity. Because at that point, Buffalo was winning by 1 with the ball. It's like, hey, if the refs are fixing this game, they better hurry up and do something. So, yeah, if you want to go further down that rabbit hole and argue against what I'm saying, it's like, well, they want the ratings too. So they're not just going to have the blowout. I don't know. I'm having a hard time with it. But let's go to the next play because forget the conspiracy aspect of it. This is just mind blowing to me. It has to be incomplete or it has to be a Buffalo interception. Walk us through the play. How did you see it?
Well, what I think the ref saw, which is ridiculous to see this, is the end result being a 50-50 catch between
Hmm.
the two people. So you give it to the offense every time. He didn't even have the ball hit the ground before Worthy had. I don't even know if he had a hand on it until it hit the ground. And so the only correct thing would be an interception because that's the only one that makes sense. He controlled it to the ground. The defensive back did, which I'll give him a lot of credit for that. That's pretty insane. But I have no idea how that ever is a Xavier Worthy catch. I think that's one of those situations where you just call it incomplete and just run it back, and no one's really too upset about that. But there's no world where that's a catch. It's just
Yeah.
not. And it
I,
just can't happen. Like,
to your point, it was a you know what, you really hit it spot on because you're right. In that situation when it's a 50-50 ball, it does go to the offense, but it wasn't a 50-50 ball until it hit the ground, and then it turned into a 50-50 ball. It was really a 70-30 Buffalo advantage. Then it hit the ground and he was able to secure it. The only reason why I'm not hyper fixated on that particular play is there was an illegal contact anyway. So it's going to be 1st and 10. Now, granted, it wouldn't have been from the 6 or 7 yard line. It would have been what, 20 yard line?
yeah,
What?
something like that. Yeah.
So the Chiefs, it was never going to be an interception. So for the record, it was always going to be first down Chiefs. Um, I Buffalo, to tell you, McDermott, man, I hate blaming the coach, but it's like, how about you fucking call the challenge before you guys get a 2 yard loss on first down? That might help. Like the Bills stop them on 1st and goal for a 2 yard loss, and then you find out McDermott waits to the last second to do a challenge, so that play doesn't happen. And then Mahomes gets them. Was it on 3rd down? I forgot even what the play was to get him in the end zone there.
Um, that was his first run, right? That was the first touchdown run that he had.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. He just hit the corner. So I mean, oh Lord, I probably blacked out on some of these bets as we'll get to the Eagles game in a second. But yeah. So I don't know how much that play was. It really, really mattered at the end because the Chiefs were still going to have 1st and 10 at about the 20. Probably would have scored. The face mask call on one of the corners on Buffalo, I think it was on Hollywood Brown, seemed like a bad call. I probably could find a couple other calls, but I didn't come away from the game thinking, the refs got what they wanted, the NFL got what they wanted. I came thinking like it just kind of is what it is, and just a really bad call on the spot of the 4th and 1 more than anything.
And the other big part of it is that the third, I would argue, Kincaid was there. I think that he gets called over more often than not in those situations. And yeah, I just think
3rd down.
yeah, and I just think like you
Yeah.
look at something like that, those two plays back to back, and like it does feel like when those, I don't think refs do this, but sometimes it feels like they do. Like when you're that close
Make
and
them
the
call.
play is that close on 4th down, it deserves to be a Bills first down just objectively. You can't screw them over twice. I don't think the Chiefs would be like outraged if it ended up being called a Bills first down because it was that close. It really did. His body was across, and like it just. I think you got to give him the first down. Like it's not fixing the game or anything. It's just like it's probably the right call in that situation. But
It
yeah,
is. It's yeah. I don't know. It's a really, really tough break because I don't know what the outcome is there on that drive because Buffalo's up, what, 22-21. If they get the touchdown there and they go up by 8, yeah, they're in the driver's seat. But if they get held to the field goal, so I can't say it cost them the game. I can say it made the game a hell of a lot harder, but there was no guarantee. Although Bass kicked that first field goal, fucking great. So chances are they're going to at least get 3 points there. It'd be nice if Buffalo ran a different play on. I mean, Buffalo's lucky because Cook gets them that touchdown. All of a sudden, they can't execute in short yardage. Like
I think they should have been doing shotgun snaps. I think the Chiefs are ready for the sneak. I think the shotgun snap showed a lot more effectiveness. I don't think whenever they did the direct design run from the shotgun with Allen, I don't think it ever went backwards. I think it was always at least 2 yards. I think you kind of go with that. Like I think that's the safest play. Like they're there on the sneak. I don't know what the Bills were messing up, but the Chiefs had the sneak just locked up which will be interesting in the Super Bowl too. But I think that if they just run a shotgun snap and just get Allen barreling forward like full force, he's going to get through. Like he will find a good enough hole. He's got decent vision. That I feel like was the safest play there. I just feel like that was one of those situations where you don't want to be the offensive coordinator that calls the shotgun designed run. You don't want to be the one that gets like, yeah, you got to kind of just play with a little more balls sometimes. You got to be willing to make that risk.
100%, because the Eagles, you either do the tush push or you have to do something different. Meaning the tush push the Bills don't run the tush push. They don't actually push Allen. He goes a little lateral. You know, when you watch these replays, which by the way, it's amazing. I don't know, like watching sports now, it's unbelievable because you get all these replays. You go on Twitter and you see it in slow motion, and it's just fucking fascinating. And Allen does go lateral. Like I was watching some guy who had it perfectly done on Hurts versus Allen and how different it actually looks. People think the quarterback sneaks all the same, but it's really not. The Eagles it's a cavalry of guys pushing, and Allen tries to find that opening and then pushes himself. And to your point, the Chiefs apparently were able to be in the neutral zone / know exactly where he was going and pushed it back. I mean, Chris Jones and Karlaftis, always have trouble with his name. They dominated. I thought the Bills were going to win because they were going to be able to get more pressure on Mahomes, but it was really the other way around. In the critical moments, it was the Chiefs' defensive line that was superior. Mahomes was great. There's no other way around it. He just was. Pacheco, kind of invisible. And last year, it felt like they leaned on the running game more. All the props would hit for all the receivers except for Kelce. What was your take from getting away from the refs now and just going to the Chiefs game plan? It seemed relatively flawless. Like Reed was dialing up plays that they don't typically run, getting Mahomes out on the boot. So really impressive, especially to get the last first down at the end of the game.
I think the big thing he figured out he could finally do is he was running a bunch of like crossers with Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, with Kelce kind of like they called it out on the replay once, but Kelce's basically setting like a pick block, running his little hitch route in the middle. So they'll do that. And then you have Brown and Worthy, who are two like the fastest guys in the NFL, just going across. If the corner even like hesitates for a second, they're going to be wide open. There was a Hollywood Brown play where like you couldn't even tell it was man coverage because the man was so far behind him.
And Juju was open a couple of times too in the same situation.
Oh yeah, and it's like they're able to script these plays so well. I think Worthy's probably the X factor of the offense because they got him going really well in the run game too. Like he had 2 really positive run plays and he caught a lot of really good passes, looked really good in space. It's going to be really, really fun to watch like the Eagles secondary, which has been so locked down, try and deal with like just objective speed threats in Worthy and Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, well, to spin it forward, I have like two competing narratives. The one is the Chiefs never blow anybody out in this run, and now they're going to get all that speed on the dome, right, on the carpet in New Orleans. Is this the Super Bowl? They finally get the blowout. Like, if the Eagles get behind, do the Chiefs finally get the blowout, or is it the Eagles deserve a ton of credit as we now spin it forward to them? We're basically rebuilding, hitting a rock bottom. Losing that Super Bowl wasn't quite rock bottom. It was almost like, damn, that was really depressing. And then they were so talented when we look back on this that they skated to like an 11-1 record last year. And then the rock bottom was that playoff game against Tampa. They pretty much quit. They got just really embarrassing because their roster was better than Tampa's last year. And then this year, as I've said probably 100 times, I thought the season was over when Tampa kicked their ass. And instead they were like, no, that's now like, why are we getting humiliated by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Like, this can't happen anymore. And they're clearly like the better team than Kansas City. If you just put the rosters out there, you remove the coaches, you remove like the stigma of it all, and we just like start drafting players. What was your analysis of this game of the Eagles Commanders? And then, what's the gut read here 2 weeks out on who wins the Super Bowl?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Eagles just look the Commanders game is a weird one because it does feel like one of those games that if the end of the first half goes a little different, the outcome of the game completely changes. I think if the Commanders just don't fumble the kickoff get a full drive. They probably score a touchdown. They probably don't leave a lot of clock, and then it's a tied game. That's a big difference that changes the entire outcome, but that doesn't happen. And then the Eagles have the lead going into half. They get ball out of half, and then they controlled the game. They kind of gave the Commanders an out for a second there, but it never really felt like the Commanders had a chance in that second half. And then especially by the end, it was really tough to watch. And I think the biggest part of the Eagles offense is Dallas Goedert kind of becoming like the number 2 receiving option. I mean, he just gets open. He's really good in space. Like it feels like he always beats the first guy on him, which is just so valuable to have. I think that trying to figure out what the Chiefs are going to do to shut him down. The Chiefs kind of struggled against tight ends all season. They've kind of done pretty well against them. What do you do against Dallas Goedert? Do you script directly for him? Like that's a really interesting problem to have.
I'm glad you brought that up. You can make the argument that the Eagles built their top 4 weapons with the perfect chemistry, the perfect dynamics, meaning A.J. Brown's the alpha, and Devontae Smith could be your number 1 receiver on a lot of teams, but he doesn't quite have that energy about him. And because he's so fast, you really can't single him up. Like he gets under the radar as far as his production. But if you watch and you listen to a lot of Eagles chatter about how defenses guard the Eagles, they have to have somebody over the top. And that's why Brown was able to get free on that. That was a huge play when he beat whoever that
down too. It was a 4th down play call. Like it was
huge play.
Like, yeah, I was watching the route because I had his longest reception bet. And I was like, oh, he's actually got space on him, like legitimate space. And like Hurts had like failed to throw it in the past. I thought there was no chance he throws it just because like Hurts, it seemed to actually like really was kind of scared in the pocket. Like he didn't want to make the mistake throwing the ball, but then he rips it.
He hesitated on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Brown it's a great play on the ball. Like I think it's going to be so interesting seeing a guy like him run up against the Chiefs defensive backs because he's just so big. I think he gets open a lot more than we know. I think Hurts doesn't throw to him a lot when he's open, and their offensive play call just isn't really to hit the deep ball as much. So yeah, I think that there's so many variabilities with the Eagles offense, like what they're really capable of if they like fully open the playbook out and like look for Devonta Smith more, because it feels like he kind of gets lost sometimes. Kind of go away from Saquon running the ball. Like I would love to see them come out and they run the ball like 10 times the whole game. Like Saquon's catching passes. You have Devonta Smith getting open. I think if you just like you kind of like throw something completely different at Spagnuolo, make him like basically his entire game plan like completely fall apart. What does happen? I think it takes a risk of that level to truly push the Chiefs, but I don't trust Sirianni to actually have the balls to go out and just completely revamp the playbook going into the Super Bowl.
I just don't have a read on the Eagles. I just kept thinking the season was going to end. Then they finally the Eagles have literally pissed me off more than any team I can think of in a particular year. Although the Colts have really fucked the Colts, but the Eagles, I finally get them right yesterday, and they get all the prop bets wrong. It was like, you got to be kidding me! Like Barkley doesn't hit his over. I was gonna hit Goddard, but like everybody had Goddard, and then I just figured, I don't know, maybe they'll put more attention on him. And then Devontae Smith gets like the first catch for like 20-some yards and then figures 3 yards short. Barkley, they obviously don't need him in the fourth quarter as that wasn't the best look for Washington, but in a way, probably better for Washington to get humiliated at the end of the game like that. It'd be motivation for them.
They shouldn't be there anyways. They're such a young team. They're 2 years away probably from being a legitimate contender. The big goal right now should be making sure you can replicate this, making sure this isn't just a one-time run.
What did you think? Because they were able to move the ball. Like when I fast forward to the game next week or 2 weeks from now, the thing that'll be interesting to me is how much the Eagles will have to adjust their defense without Nakobe Dean in the middle. Because what I've now seen the past couple of weeks is he must be really good, because it felt like the Rams were going for Higbee all the time, their tight end, and then Washington is just pretty much getting what they wanted, moving the ball. So the Eagles are going to have to make some adjustments. A couple quick hitters on that game, and then I know I got to let you run in a minute, but what did you think of Dan Quinn going for – did they have like a 17, 18 play drive to start the game, and then he quit on us? It was like 4th and 3, and now he's like, all right, I'm done. Now we can kick the field goal. Went for like 4th down 3 times in a row. Did you agree with that decision at the time to take the 3 points, or would you have liked to see them just fuck it? Like Jaden Daniels is on fire. We haven't. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, that's just part of Dan Quinn, dude. He doesn't. I swear he flips a coin in his fucking head, and it's like a 70% heads coin. So he goes for it on 4th down 70% of the time, dude. I don't get it. He's done it with the. He did it with the Falcons a lot. I had to deal with this bullshit. It's annoying. Yeah, you go for it. Like this, you're not really even supposed to be here. Don't act like. Don't play like you're kind of scared to like take risk. Like you're here because you have, and you shouldn't be here. You're a wild card team that's made it all the way to the championship game. Play like that. Just like go out there, like kind of make the Eagles scared of how reckless you
They
are.
already got a couple of them, so that one was like it was a little weird. It kind of
He's done this before. There's a old Falcons game where he kicked a field goal in a situation where the Falcons would have been better off just kneeling over kicking a field goal and giving the other team the ball back because they were on the 1 yard line. He kicked a field goal on 4th and goal from the one time down 4. So he's done stuff like this before with 2 minutes left in the game too. So he's done stuff like this before. Dan Quinn's he's a roller coaster as a coach. You got to get through the lows because the highs can be really fun, but he can do some really dumb stuff. It's just kind of like how he coaches. It's weird. It doesn't lead to long sustained like coaching careers as a head coach. He's good to get fired pretty quickly because the lows are really rough. But he does get these Super Bowl runs. Like he made it with the Falcons. He was able to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. He has this conference championship now. He could be a Super Bowl winning coach. He just does make some really stupid decisions sometimes.
tough break. Who's Jason Kelsey rooting for, you think?
Oh, dude, he's got to be rooting for the Eagles. He's definitely rooting for the Eagles. There's no way.
I feel like he'd be pissed that they won and then they didn't win when he was there 2 years ago.
They'd get him a ring. They'd definitely get him a ring. He doesn't want Travis having another one. I know that for a fact, that he doesn't want to have to deal with Travis Kelsey having his 4th fucking ring.
But then I don't know. I'm torn on that one. I'm torn because I don't want to, it's like, fuck, couldn't we have just won a couple years without me? But anyway, we got plenty.
It'll be interesting to see what he's doing. Like he's gonna be in that little box. They're gonna be showing him all game. Yeah, I think he'll probably be in Eagles gear.
Do you think most people, you kind of have a more sobering, rational take on the refs? I've seen a lot of people, I don't know how to like quantify this, but like just aren't going to watch the Super Bowl, not interested. Do you believe in that, or do you just think it's random people that I accidentally saw on Twitter?
I saw it too. Respectfully, and I genuinely mean like respectfully, just shut the fuck up and watch the game. Just watch the game. Like it's like no, they don't give a fuck if you are watching or not. A majority of the US is going to be watching the game. You're not going to boycott the Super Bowl, dude. Like the refs in this game, yet they were kind of rough. It kind of sucked. If they're really bad in the Super Bowl, maybe we have a discussion about it. But let's not act like we all thought like the Chiefs were probably going to win that game, refs help or not. I don't think the refs help in that game was that instrumental in the Chiefs winning it. I think the Bills kind of fell apart in offense at the end of the fourth quarter. They had some long 4th and downs. They didn't really know what they were doing. They dropped a really catchable ball at the end of the game too, and then they didn't stop them on 3rd down.
You didn't talk. Yeah, it would have been nice to catch that ball. It was a bigger play than the pass interference that they gave Buffalo against the Ravens last week.
Yeah.
Similar situation where it's like, yeah, I think both things can be true. I think the calls went Kansas City's way. I don't know if it's the reason they won the game because that interception, like I said, it's kind of irrelevant. Chiefs are still going to have a 1st and 10 at the 20. Might even be closer than that. I got to double check on that one. And then the second is that short yardage situation. The Bills are usually getting 3, 4, 5 yards. They rush to get up there. And somebody else pointed out something that really made a lot of sense. First of all, how funny was it that the referee at the Washington games, like, I felt like I was at a Little League games. Like, if you guys do this again, we're just going to give them 7 points.
I don't, for the record, I don't blame them because, like, 3 in a row, like, they're not even attempting to, like, they weren't even trying to time it up.
Never been done.
You can't be trying to time some shit up while you're in the fucking air, okay? I don't know what the plan is. I think he just, like, counted to 5.
Somebody can get seriously hurt. But then the funny part is, like, if that was in the Chiefs game, that would really be the conspiracy. But then the point I was trying to make is Buffalo didn't try to do that. It was like, dude, you have 4th and inches. Go up there. To me, you huddle up and you pick a number. I've never been a quarterback in the NFL, but can't we just say, or whatever I say, that's when we're actually going? And I'm going to say a whole bunch of shit for about 35 seconds before that. Like, isn't that the whole point of trying to draw somebody off sides? Instead, they felt sorry for themselves that they didn't get the first down. They were kind of like panicked that they didn't get it on 3rd down, right? And then they just run up there. So yeah, it's kind of their fault for making it inches short. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tough break for Buffalo. It certainly is. I'm not trying to defend the refs, but I'm defending the idea that it wasn't a fix by any means. I think it's
This isn't the game. I think you look back at the Texans game, that's a horribly officiated game. And I think there were some issues in the Eagles game too. Because I remember listening to Brady sometimes and just getting like pissed off about his like takes on stuff. I did think the Eagles got a couple calls in that game to go their way that they probably shouldn't have gotten. But again, nothing like as bad as Texans Chiefs, which I still hold up as like objectively one of the worst officiated playoff games.
One of the worst things that happened yesterday was what happened to Christian Benford on Buffalo. Like, first of all, he's in concussion protocol all week. Probably they forced him to play by a lot of accounts. He wasn't really, I don't know. It's hard to, dude, he gets hit in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter. They had to strap him in. Did you see that? The camera's like trying. You'd see at the end of the first quarter, he gets concussed again, and he is fucking out cold. Probably shouldn't have been playing. That went under the radar. That really hurt Buffalo. There was guys wide open for Kansas City. Yeah, it is what it is. Brady's got a horrible Super Bowl. For him, it's either Mahomes is better than you as he wins 3 in a row. That's what you can never do. Or you get to relive your Eagles loss, which that probably is not a tremendous amount of fun, and deal with Eagles fans harassing you. Eagles fans are the worst people. These fans are – you see what they did to us?
Dude, bro, I know about them already from the Braves. Dude, Philly fans fucking suck, man.
Oh, that's right. You got to deal with them down here.
They're the worst. This is a lose-lose Super Bowl. Like, I'm just rooting – Eagles have more Georgia players on that team. Most of that defense – but holy shit, like,
you know how you have those like political maps that they'll do for the Super Bowl where they'll pick like which state's rooting for which team.
Yeah.
Someone had one where it was like after Pennsylvania and I guess where are they in Missouri, Kansas City. The rest of the country was just like undecided. It's like no one cares or whatever. Oh boy, I do think here made me think of one thing and I'll let you run, but the makeup call is the one thing that is on my mind. That's human nature. And I had so we had at the high school basketball game the other night, we came out of a timeout and it was our ball, right? Like it was traveling on the other team and then their team called a timeout and it was our ball and they gave it to the other team. And like the next break, the coach, I'm the assistant on the team. So I didn't want to carry on too much, but like he had said something to the official and the official like ignored it. And a couple minutes later, there was a full timeout and I went over to him and because I wanted to be really nice as the assistant coach. They really don't want to talk to you. And I just said, hey, respectfully, did you know that it was supposed to be our ball? So older guy. And his face almost like turned red and he apologized and said, yeah. And everything happened so fast. I didn't have a chance to correct it. Kid you not, a couple minutes later, there's like our kid tried to take a charge. No way it was a charge. It was definitely a block, and he gave it to us. And I just like thought about like that, just human nature, right? Like it just happens where it's like, all right, I owe that team one. And yeah, that looked like a first down on that 1 3rd down play, and then to not get it on 4th down, it really sucks. But it's the same thing as what happened to the Ravens. If you're going to make things come down to 1 or 2 plays, then it's not the ref's fault. So fuck the Chiefs. Fuck the I don't know what I'm supposed to do for a couple weeks, but that's what we got. What's your initial? If I made you predict right now before you go, what's the final score of the Super Bowl? We'll see if it changes 2 weeks from now. But what do you got right now?
I'll do 28, like 28-24. No, we'll do 27-24, game-winning field goal. It'll be the Chiefs probably. I hate to say it. I really don't want it to be the Chiefs, but yeah, I don't think the Eagles are well coached. I don't like Sirianni. I think they have a lot of talent. I think they have the most talent in the NFL. And the fact that everyone is shocked they made a Super Bowl speaks a lot to the coaching quality in Philly. And it's Andy Reid playing against the Eagles again. That's a revenge game for him, a big one. I don't see him losing this. I really don't. I wish I could. I just don't. I just don't see it happening.
If the Chiefs win, I don't think it's gonna be close. I think they'll blow them out. I'm gonna take the Eagles to win. I don't know how they got here, but I feel like it's a good sports story. Not giving up. This usually does not happen. Usually, you lose the Super Bowl, and then if you have a shitty year the next year, kind of how they did, they got to make some changes. They really didn't. They kind of just retooled. They have a better secondary than they did last time they're going to play these guys, and better defensive coordinator. Fangio, I don't think he's ever won one, but we'll talk about it more. I know you got to run, so I know you got to go too. All right, good job with your bets. Fuck,
it's been fucking awesome with the bets. Holy shit!
There you go. You got your run going. Be nice if we do it at the same time, but yeah, yesterday not my best day. It is what it is. But all right, I'll Maryland won. I want to talk about that more tomorrow. But yeah, I'll see you, bro. Have a good afternoon. Hopefully you guys can enjoy. I don't know. Ravens fans probably not in a good mood no matter what happened yesterday. So just is what it is. I'll see you, bro. Have a good day.
I see you, man.